Welcome to another new episode of the Get Organised with Declutter Me podcast with myself, Shalina. I hope you're well wherever you are in the world. Today, we're going to be talking about something sneaky, something that keeps your home looking messy even after you've decluttered it. It's what I like to call invisible clutter. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you've been a loyal listener for a while, I'm so pleased to have you here today. Your support truly means everything to me. Sharing my passion for decluttering and organising with you every week is a joy, and I feel so lucky to do what I love. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd be so grateful if you could help spread the word, either by following, subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing this episode with your friends and family. Your feedback makes all the difference and helps me bring so much helpful more content to the listeners. So you know that feeling you've spent the weekend tidying up, sorting through your belongings and putting things away? You've done the laundry, you've wiped down the surfaces, and even vacuumed every corner. You should be feeling satisfied that you've accomplished this thing, that you've done all this cleaning. Yet when you step back and take a look around, something still feels off. The house doesn't quite have that polished look, that put together kind of thing that you were hoping for. It's not messy, but it doesn't feel as organised and serene as you imagined it would after all that effort. That's because clutter isn't just about piles of clothes, spilling out of wardrobes, or stacks of paperwork dominating your desk. It's not always about the obvious mess. Sometimes it's the tiny, often overlooked details, the visual noise, the disorganisation that creeps into the background. The areas that seem insignificant but still contribute to a sense of disorder. It's the tangled cables behind the TV, the half-burnt candles sitting on the coffee table, the mismatched storage boxes, or the random bits and pieces that don't seem to have a proper home. It also sounds like Ironic by Alanis Morissette. These elements may seem minor, but they add up. They create a subtle but persistent feeling of chaos, making you feel unsettled and your space unsettled, even when it's technically tidy. It's what I like to call invisible clutter. The kind of clutter that doesn't always register at first, but still impacts the overall feel of your home. And here's the tricky part. Because these details are subtle, we tend to overlook them. We accept them as part of the background, adjusting to them without realizing how they affect our mood and perception of our space. But once you start noticing them, you won't be able to unsee them. And that's a good thing, because addressing these little details can make a huge difference in how your home looks and feels. So today we're going to be uncovering these hidden culprits, the small things that might make your space feel messier than it actually is. And more importantly, we'll talk about simple, effective changes you can make to create a home that looks effortlessly, which I can't even say, effortlessly neat. I can't say it. You know what I mean. Makes it look neat, organised, and inviting. So if you've ever wondered why your space still feels cluttered despite your best efforts, this episode is for you. So let's get started. So what is invisible clutter? Invisible clutter is the kind of mess that isn't immediately obvious, yet it still creates a sense of disorder in your space. It's not glaringly obvious, piles of laundry waiting to be folded or the stack of unopened letters cluttered up on the kitchen counter. It's not the wardrobe doors straining to close because there are too many clothes inside. Those are the traditional kind of clutter, things we see and easily recognize as needing attention. Invisible clutter, on the other hand, is subtle. It's the kind of disorganization that blends into the background, creeping into our daily lives without us consciously noticing. It's the visual noise in a room, the little details that don't seem like a big deal individually, but when combined, they make a space feel really untidy and unpolished. So what does invisible clutter look like? Here are some of the most common culprits. Excess cables dangling behind your TV or desk. Those tangled wires running from your television, gaming consoles, or charging stations create a messy look even when everything else in the room is in its place. And I have that problem. I have a station with loads of wires and plugs and stuff. And I have tried everything. Boxes, like holders for the wires. And I am always trying to find something that will keep them all organized and less messy. It's a nightmare. Another thing that's a nightmare are open shelves that look chaotic rather than curated. Shelving should showcase your favorite pieces, not serve as a dumping ground for the books, random trinkets, and mismatched items. When shelves are overloaded or disorganized, they contribute to a cluttered visual effect. Another thing is random things left on surfaces. That could be like sunglasses, keys, hair ties, receipts, half used candles often found on countertops, coffee tables, or bedside tables. Even if each item seems small together, they create a feeling of disorder. Another thing is a mismatch of coat hangers in the wardrobes, and I really do find that like it does something to my brain. It's something that many people overlook, but a wardrobe filled with different types of hangers, plastic, wooden, and those horrible wire ones, can make even a neatly arranged closet look cluttered and uncoordinated. I always recommend the velvet hangers because they're thin, light, and hold the clothes up. And it does make your wardrobe look so much better and neatly arranged. I can't emphasize it enough. I know I say it all the time, but really, get some velvet hangers. Another thing is overfilled bookshelves. So bookshelves should feel inviting, but when they are every available inch is crammed with books, magazines, and decorative objects, it can make a space feel heavy and overwhelming rather than cozy. Another thing is too many decorative items. While styling a space is important, too many candles, ornaments, or framed photos competing for attention can turn a home into a cluttered collection of stuff rather than a thoughtfully curated space. A messy bed also instantly makes a bedroom feel so chaotic. But on the other hand, a bed with too many cushions and throws can also contribute to visual clutter. Balance is key. Cluttered entryways are also another issue. So, shoes left by the door, coats draped over chairs, and piles of posts accumulating on the console table all contribute to an untidy first impression of your home. These details might not stand out immediately, but they add up, creating a home that feels cluttered even if it's technically clean. The key to tackling invisible clutter is learning to see it. Once you start recognizing these subtle messages, you can make small intentional changes that will instantly improve the look and feel of your home. And the best part? It doesn't require a major decluttering session. Just a few thoughtful tweaks to refine your space and make it feel effortlessly organized. So let's talk about the psychological impact of invisible clutter. We might not always notice invisible clutter directly, but our brains do. Even when a space appears relatively clean, subtle disorganization creates a sense of unease. That's because clutter, visible or invisible, isn't just about having too many things. It's about how those things interact with the environment and how they affect our perception of space. Have you ever walked into a room and felt instantly overwhelmed, even though nothing obvious was out of place? Or perhaps you sat down at your desk ready to work but found it too difficult to focus despite having a clear workspace. That's the hidden effect of invisible clutter. It creates visual and mental noise, making it harder for us to relax, concentrate, and feel in control of our surroundings. So, why does invisible clutter cause stress? Our brains are constantly processing information from our environment, even when we're not consciously aware of it. When a space is cluttered, whether with a visible mess or subtle disorganization, it sends signals to our brain that there is unfinished business, things that need our attention, or a lack of order. This is low level, but really persistent and can lead to stress. And it can also lead to mental fatigue. That means that the brain has to work harder to filter out distractions, making it harder to concentrate and process information efficiently. Increased stress levels. So, studies have shown that cluttered environments can lead to higher cortisol levels, the stress hormone, which can contribute to feelings of anxiety, frustration, and even guilt. There's also then reduced productivity. So, a messy or visually chaotic space makes it much more difficult to focus and get things done, leading to procrastination or a feeling of being overwhelmed. Then there's disrupted relaxation. A cluttered space can prevent you from from fully unwinding, even when you're trying to rest. Instead of feeling calm, your subconscious mind remains alert to the disorder, making it harder to switch off. Then there's the emotional drain. Clutter, even on a small scale, can create an underlying sense of chaos, which may lead to feelings of frustration or helplessness. It can also trigger feelings of guilt or shame, especially if we feel like we should be keeping things more organized. So let's talk about how to minimize the psychological effects of invisible clutter. The good news is that you don't need drastic overhaul to see a difference. Simple changes can have a significant impact on how a space looks and feels. Here are a few ways to minimize the invisible clutter and create a more calming environment. Start by identifying areas where visual clutter builds up. Messy shelves, tangled cables, overcrowded countertops. Making small adjustments like using cable organizers or reducing items on display can create an immediate sense of order. Every room should have some areas of emptiness to allow the eye to rest. Too many decorations, knickknacks, or furniture pieces in one space can make it feel busy and overwhelming. Use consistency in your design. So mismatched storage bins or different types of coat hangers or a mix of random decor can make a room feel really chaotic. Choosing coordinated storage solutions or uniform hangers can instantly make a space feel more cohesive. Adopt a reset routine. So at the end of each day, take 5 minutes to clear surfaces, return items to their designated spaces, and straighten up any areas that look cluttered. This small habit can prevent invisible clutter from accumulating. Limit your sensory overload, so spaces filled with too many patterns, colors, or objects can make it mentally overwhelming. A simple, curated aesthetic can make a home feel more peaceful and inviting. So let's talk about where invisible clutter hides and how to fix it. Invisible clutter has a way of creeping into our spaces without us realizing it. It's not necessarily the obvious mess, like dishes in the sink or a pile of clothes on the floor, but rather the small, subtle disorganization that builds up over time. These little details may not seem like a big deal individually, but together they can make a space feel chaotic and untidy. So let's go room by room, identifying the sneaky spots where invisible clutter tends to hide, and more importantly, how to fix it. Number one is the surfaces that collect clutter. So where this happens is the dining table, kitchen counters, coffee tables, and bedside tables, which are often magnets for random objects. Before you know it, these spaces are covered in keys, unopened posts, receipts, half-empty coffee cups, or that one hair tie that you keep on meaning to put away. Why it's a problem? Even if it's the rest of your home is clean, cluttered surfaces make a space feel messy. They disrupt the flow of the room and create unnecessary distractions. So to fix this, create a designated space for everyday items. A small tray or dish for essentials like keys and wallets to keep them contained rather than scattered. Clear your surfaces daily, so take a minute at the end of the day to reset these areas. A quick tidy up before bed will keep the clutter from building up. Be mindful of those drop zones, so if you find yourself repeatedly leaving things in the same spot, create a system for them. A letter rack by the door, a basket for chargers, or a drawer for loose change can help keep things under control. Number two is too many decorative items. So where this happens is on the shelves, the side tables, the mantles, and the coffee tables. They're often overloaded with candles, ornaments, framed photos, or souvenirs from holidays. It's a problem because it adds personality to your home, but too much of it creates visual clutter. Instead of looking styled and intentional, it can start feeling overwhelming. So to fix this, curate your decor. Choose a few key pieces that complement the space rather than filling every available space. Use the rule of three. So when styling, group objects in sets of three with varying heights of balance. Rotate your decor seasonally. This way you can appreciate items at different times without overcrowding your space. Number three is mismatched storage solutions. So where this happens is open shelving, pantries, wardrobes, and playrooms, often becoming a mix of storage bins, baskets, and boxes in different colors and sizes. It can become a problem because it's inconsistent storage solutions, creating visual noise, making a space look disorganized even if it's technically tidy. To fix this, invest in uniform storage. So matching baskets or bins create a streamlined look. Even inexpensive solutions can instantly make a space feel more organized. If you go to places like IKEA, you can get them over the years, the same ones. So try and choose ones that have been there for a long time. Label the storage containers as well. This helps maintain order, ensures that everything has a designated place. Next, let's talk about the horrible, tangled, and visible cables. They happen, as we've said before, at the TV units, the office desks, the bedside tables, and the kitchen counters. It's a problem because it's a problem. Tangle of wires instantly makes a space feel cluttered. So to fix it, use cable organizers or clips. They help bundle cords together and prevent them from dangling everywhere. Hide your cables as much as possible. So use adhesive cable channels behind desks or TV stands to keep the wires out of sight. Choose a wireless option where possible. Bluetooth speakers, wireless chargers, and cordless lamps can help reduce the cable clutter. Next is overloaded bookshelves. So that happens obviously in the living rooms, bedrooms, and home offices where there's bookshelves filled to the brim with books, magazines, and decorative items. It can make your bookshelf look heavy and chaotic if it's not neatly arranged and it's cluttered. So to fix this, declutter the books you no longer read. If the books have been gathering dust, consider donating them. Leave a space between the sections, so give books and decor some breathing room to create a more polished look. Mix in decorative elements, so small plants, framed photos, or simple sculpture can break up the heaviness of a full bookcase. Another thing we haven't talked about is the fridge and notice board chaos. So that's like, on the magnet bit, where you could put your magnets, takeaway menus, your shopping list, the daily planner for the family, random notes stuck to fridge or pinned to a board. Too many of them makes the place look messy and it can make a kitchen look chaotic or an office. So to fix it, limit what you display, keep only essential notes or reminders visible and remove the rest. Use a designated drawer or folder for menus and important papers. I mean, with menus, do you really need them anymore? Because we have everything on Deliveroo and, Uber Eats or whatever we use. And then for the calendar bit, opt for a digital calendar. So if your fridge is covered in schedules and reminders, using a digital calendar can reduce the paper clutter. Finally, let's talk about overstuffed entryways. So where that happens is the front door area, obviously, and the hallway or mudroom that accumulates the shoes, the coats, the bags, and the post. It's a problem because it creates a bad first impression and makes it hard to leave the house without tripping over things. To fix this, limit the number of items by the door. So keep only a few essentials like a coat, a pair of shoes, and a handbag. The rest should be stored away. Use wall hooks for keys and bags and a basket for shoes to help keep things contained. And create a drop zone, so a console table or small tray for post and other small items to prevent them from spreading out. So once you've tackled the invisible clutter lurking in your home, the next step is to refine and style your space in a way that makes it feel effortlessly tidy, inviting, and balanced. Styling isn't just about making a home look good for Instagram. It's about creating a space that feels calm, organized, and functional for you. Here are some simple yet effective styling tricks that can instantly elevate your home's look without overwhelming it. The rule of three. Now, I've talked about this before, but let me mention it again. When arranging items on a surface, grouping the items in sets of three creates a visual, appealing, and balanced look. This design principle works because our brains naturally find odd numbers more interesting and harmonious than even numbered ones. Did you know that? Next is breathing space. So too many objects in a space can make it feel overwhelming, even if it's neatly arranged. Give your surfaces and shelves some breathing room to allow the eyes to rest and make the space feel more open and intentional. Symmetry and balance is another thing. Our brains are wired to appreciate symmetry. It creates a sense of order and calm. Balance doesn't mean that everything has to be perfectly mirrored, but a well-arranged space should feel visually calm. Light and airy touches, that's the way the light flows through a space. That can completely change how it feels. So a bright, airy room automatically looks fresher, more open, and less cluttered. Invisible clutter is easy to overlook, but once you start noticing it, you'll see so much of a difference these small changes can make. Decluttering isn't just about getting rid of things, it's about creating a space that feels organized, peaceful, and welcoming. The best part? Many of these fixes take only a few minutes, but have a lasting impact on the way your home looks and feels. So take a look around your home today with fresh eyes. What small details are making it feel cluttered? Is it an overcrowded shelf, a tangle of cables, a coffee table covered in too many knickknacks? Start with one simple fix, maybe swapping out mismatched hangers in your wardrobe or clearing out your kitchen counter, and you'll be surprised at how much better your space looks and feels. That's it for today's episode. If you found it helpful, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow me on Instagram at declutterme for more tips and inspiration. Thanks for listening as usual, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Bye.